Captain Jake Morrison sat in his chair on the bridge of the spaceship, Horizon's Edge. The stars outside the windows looked peaceful, but his day was about to become very interesting. A bright red light flashed on his control panel. This meant an urgent message was coming from the Galactic Council. "Captain," said Amy Patterson, the communications officer, "we have a priority message from Council headquarters. They want to speak with you right away." Jake pressed a button on his chair. The main screen lit up with the image of a tall blue alien with 4 arms. This was Counselor Vex 9, one of the most important leaders in the galaxy. "Captain Morrison," Vex 9 said in his deep voice, "we need your ship to handle a very special situation. A new species wants to join our council. They call themselves the Zephyrians." Jake raised an eyebrow. New species didn't join the council very often. It was a big deal when they did. "What makes them special, Counselor?" "They claim they have done something that very few species have ever accomplished," Vex 9 replied. "They say they traveled to Earth and survived encounters with your planets. Predators. They lived through attacks from the deadly creatures that make Earth so feared across the galaxy." Jake felt surprised. Earth's animals were well known throughout space as some of the most dangerous creatures anywhere. Most aliens were too scared to even visit Earth, let alone survive there. "They want to prove they are strong enough to join the Council," Vex 9 continued. "Since they dealt with Earth's animals, we need humans to confirm their story. You will meet with their delegation and decide if their claims are true." The screen went dark. Jake turned to his crew. "Well, this should be interesting," he said. Doctor Lisa Chong walked onto the bridge. She was the ship's expert on alien life forms and also knew a lot about Earth's animals. Her job was to study how different species lived and survived. "I heard the message," she said. "Zephyrians claiming they survived Earth's predators? That's quite a bold statement." "What do you think?" Jake asked. "Could they have actually done it?" Lisa looked thoughtful. "Earth's wildlife is dangerous, but it's not impossible to survive if you're careful and well prepared. The question is which predators they encountered and how they handled the situation." Commander Ryan Torres joined them on the bridge. He was in charge of the ship's military operations. "Captain, I've been reading about these Zephyrians. They're a warrior species from the Kepler system. They're known for being tough fighters." "That doesn't mean they could handle Earth's animals," Lisa said. "Being a good warrior against other intelligent species is very different from surviving against wild predators." Amy Patterson turned around in her seat. "Captain, I'm receiving more details about the Zephyrian delegation. Their leader is called War Chief Seth Ka. He's the one who led the mission to Earth 50 years ago." Jake nodded. "Set course for the council meeting point. We'll hear what they have to say." As the ship moved through space, Lisa spent time reading all the information she could find about the Zephyrians. They were reptile-like creatures with scales, sharp teeth, and claws. They stood about 7 feet tall and were much stronger than humans. Their home planet was hot and dry, with dangerous creatures of its own. If they're from such a harsh world, Lisa thought, maybe they really could survive on Earth. 2 days later, the Horizon's Edge arrived at the Council Station. It was a massive structure floating in space, where representatives from hundreds of different species came to meet and make decisions. Jake and his team prepared to meet the Zephyrians. They dressed in their formal uniforms and gathered in the ship's meeting room. Soon, the door opened and the alien delegation entered. War Chief Seth Ka was impressive to look at. His dark green scales caught the light and old scars covered his arms and face. Behind him came 5 other Zephyrian warriors, all bearing similar marks. "Greetings, humans," Seth Ka said in heavily accented English. "I am honored to meet the species that lives alongside the galaxy's most feared predators." Jake stood up. "Welcome aboard, War Chief. We're here to learn about your experiences on Earth." Sesethka's eyes gleamed with pride. 50 years ago, my team and I traveled to your world in secret. We wanted to test ourselves against the legendary beasts of Earth. Many of my people said we would not survive, but we proved them wrong. What exactly did you encounter? Lisa asked, taking notes. On her tablet. Creatures beyond imagination, Sesethka replied. Great beasts with massive fangs that lived among your people. Flying hunters with razor-sharp claws that attacked without warning. Pack animals that howled in the night and hunted with terrible intelligence. The other Zephyrians nodded and showed their scars. Each warrior had stories of narrow escapes and desperate fights. We barely survived, one of them said. Your planet's predators are more dangerous than anything we have on our homeworld. Lisa continued taking notes. The descriptions were interesting. Large animals with fangs, flying creatures with claws, pack hunters that howled. It all sounded like Earth's wildlife, but something felt different about their descriptions. How long were you on Earth? Jake asked. 3 months, Sesethka answered. We spent most of our time near human settlements, studying how your people managed to live with such dangerous creatures surrounding them. Near human settlements? Lisa repeated. This was an important detail. Yes, we were amazed to see humans, walking calmly while these deadly predators moved freely around them. Your species must be incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Jake and Lisa exchanged a quick look. Something was starting to make sense, but they needed more information. We look forward to hearing your full testimony at the council meeting, Jake said diplomatically. After the Zephyrians left, the human crew gathered in private. Did you notice anything odd about their descriptions? Lisa asked. They said they were near human settlements, Amy pointed out. That's not where you typically find Earth's most dangerous predators. Exactly, Lisa said, a small smile forming on her face. I think tomorrow's hearing is going to be very interesting. Jake looked at his crew. What do you think they really encountered? Lisa's smile grew a little wider. I have some ideas, but let's wait and see what they say in their official testimony. This could be more amusing than we thought. The next morning would bring the formal hearing where the Zephyrians would tell their full story to the Galactic Council. Jake had a feeling that his crew was about to learn something that would change how the galaxy viewed both Earth and humanity. As the ship prepared for the important meeting, Lisa spent the evening reviewing files about Earth's animals. She had a theory about what the Zephyrians had really encountered, and if she was right, tomorrow would be a day that nobody would forget. The council chamber was huge and filled with representatives from dozens of different species. Jake Morrison sat with his crew in the human section, watching as War Chief Sesethka prepared to give his testimony. The reptilian warrior stood at the center of the room, his scarred body catching the light from above. Counselor Vex 9 called the meeting to order. War Chief Sesethka, you claim that your people survived encounters with Earth's predators. Please tell us your story. Sesethka lifted his head proudly. 50 years ago, I led a team of our best warriors on a secret mission to the legendary death world called Earth. We wanted to prove that the Zephyrian people were strong enough to survive anywhere in the galaxy. The chamber grew quiet. Many species had heard stories about Earth's dangerous animals, but few had ever been brave enough to visit the planet. We landed our ship in a forest area near what humans call a city, Sesethka continued. Immediately, we knew we were in great danger. The sounds of predators filled the air. Howling, barking, and roaring echoed through the trees. Dr. Lisa Chong leaned forward in her seat, listening carefully to every word. She was taking detailed notes on her tablet. On our first day, we encountered the great fanged ones, Sesethka said, his voice becoming dramatic. These massive beasts lived right among the humans. They had huge teeth and powerful jaws that could crush bone. They were bigger than any creature on our homeworld. One of the other Zephyrian warriors stood up and showed a long scar on his arm. This beast attacked me without warning. Its fangs were like daggers. I barely escaped with my life. The alien audience gasped. Even the toughest species in the galaxy were impressed by the story. These creatures were everywhere, Seseth-Ka continued. The humans seemed to control them somehow, but we could see the danger in their eyes. They watched us constantly, waiting for a chance to strike. What did these creatures look like? Asked a council member from the bird-like aviax species. They were covered in fur of different colors, Seseth-Ka replied. Some were golden, some were black, some were brown. They had long tails that moved constantly. Their ears were pointed and always listening. When they opened their mouths, we could see rows of sharp teeth. Lisa's pen stopped moving. She looked up from her notes with a strange expression on her face. Commander Ryan Torres noticed her reaction and leaned over to whisper, "Are you okay?" he asked quietly. Lisa nodded, but didn't say anything. She was thinking hard about the description. War Chief Seseth-Ka continued his story. The second type of predator was even more dangerous. These were the aerial assassins. They struck from above without any warning. They had razor-sharp claws and could move faster than the eye could follow. How big were these flying hunters? Asked another council member. They were smaller than the fanged ones, but much more deadly, Seseth-Ka answered. They had fur in stripes and spots, and their eyes glowed in the dark. They could climb trees and buildings with ease. When they attacked, they used their claws to slash at our equipment. The warrior next to him showed more scars. One of these creatures destroyed my communication device. It climbed down from a tree and attacked me while I was trying to contact our ship. We learned to move only during the day, Seseth-Ka said. At night, these aerial predators became even more active. We could hear them moving on the roofs of human buildings, hunting for prey. Amy Patterson whispered to Jake, "Captain, something about this story seems odd." Jake nodded. He was thinking the same thing. The descriptions were detailed, but they didn't quite match what he knew about Earth's most dangerous predators. The third type of creature was the most intelligent, Seseth-Ka continued. These were the pack hunters. They traveled in groups and seemed to communicate with each other. They had excellent teamwork and could surround their prey. What made them so dangerous? Asked Counselor Vex 9. They had black and white striped fur and tiny hands that could grab things. Seseth-Ka explained. They would work together to break into containers and steal food. They seemed to have no fear of humans or other predators. Lisa's eyebrows went up. She was starting to understand what had really happened on Earth. These pack hunters attacked our supply cache, another Zephyrian warrior said. They opened our sealed containers and took our food. When we tried to stop them, they fought back with surprising strength. We also encountered the armored giants, Seseth-Ka said. These massive creatures moved slowly, but were nearly impossible to hurt. They had thick shells that could stop our energy weapons. How did you survive these encounters? Asked a council member. We learned to use stealth and speed, Seseth-Ka replied. We developed new tactics and created energy shields to protect ourselves. Many times, we had to run for our lives. The Zephyrian warriors all nodded. They showed more scars and talked about their narrow escapes. The strangest thing, Seseth-Ka said, was how the humans acted around these predators. They seemed completely unafraid. We saw humans walking calmly while these dangerous creatures moved freely around them. Perhaps humans have some kind of natural protection, suggested a council member. Or perhaps, Seseth-Ka said slowly, they have learned to live with death itself. We watched children playing near the great fanged ones. We saw humans actually touching these creatures with their bare hands. The chamber erupted in amazed whispers. The idea of being so close to deadly predators seemed impossible to most species. We concluded that humans must be the most fearless species in the galaxy, Sesethka said. To live surrounded by such predators and remain calm takes incredible courage. Dr. Chong was now smiling slightly. She had figured out what was happening. War Chief, she said, standing up. May I ask a few questions about these encounters? Sesethka nodded. Of course, human. You would know these creatures better than anyone. When you say the great fanged ones lived among humans, where exactly? Did you see them? In the areas where humans lived, Sesethka replied, near their dwelling places. Sometimes the humans would walk with these creatures on long strips of material. Lisa's smile grew bigger. And the aerial assassins, where did they attack you? Near human buildings. They seemed to live on the structures themselves. What time of day did you encounter the pack hunters? Usually at night, when they came looking for food. Lisa sat back down, trying not to laugh. She now knew exactly what had happened, but she would wait for the right moment to reveal the truth. We spent 3 months dodging these predators. Sesethka concluded. When we finally left Earth, we knew we had survived something that few species could endure. We had faced the legendary beasts of the Death World and lived to tell about it. The council chamber erupted in applause. Representatives from many species stood up to honor the Zephyrian warriors. This is truly remarkable, said Counselor Vex 9. You have proven your strength and courage. The council will now hear from the human representatives. Jake stood up. Thank you, Counselor. We would like some time to discuss what we have heard. May we reconvene tomorrow for our response? Of course. This session is adjourned. As the various species filed out of the chamber, the human crew gathered together. They walked back to their ship in silence, but Lisa could barely contain her. Amusement. Well? Jake asked once they were in private. Lisa burst out laughing. Captain, I know exactly what they encountered on Earth, and when I tell you, you're going to find it as funny as I do. What do you mean? Ryan asked. Those brave Zephyrian warriors, Lisa said, wiping tears from her eyes, didn't meet Earth's predators. They met Earth's pets. The human crew stared at her in shock. Tomorrow's response was going to be very interesting indeed. Back on the horizon's edge, the human crew gathered in the main meeting room. Dr. Lisa Chong stood at the front with her tablet, barely able to contain her excitement. Captain Jake Morrison, Commander Ryan Torres, and Communications Officer Amy Patterson all waited to hear her explanation. Okay, Lisa, Jake said. Tell us what you figured out. Lisa activated the room's holographic display. An image of a large, furry animal appeared in the center of the room. It had a long tail, floppy ears, and a big pink tongue hanging out of its mouth. The great fanged ones that the Zephyrians described, Lisa said, were domestic dogs. The room went silent for a moment. Then Ryan started laughing. You're joking, Amy said. I'm completely serious, Lisa replied. Think about their description. Large furry creatures with fangs, living among humans, seen near human dwellings. Humans walking them on long strips of material. That's obviously leashes. Jake shook, his head in amazement. They were scared of dogs? Not just any dogs, Lisa said, changing the holographic display to show different breeds. Based on their size descriptions, they probably encountered golden retrievers, Labradors, and maybe some German shepherds. The friendliest dogs on Earth. She pulled up her notes from the hearing. Remember, they said these creatures watched them constantly and had danger in their eyes. They were probably looking at curious dogs who wanted to play or get petted. Amy laughed. And they thought the dogs were waiting for a chance to attack? Exactly, Lisa said. From a Zephyrian perspective, seeing strange alien visitors would make any dog excited and interested. The dogs probably approached them with typical dog friendliness, which the Zephyrians interpreted as predatory behavior. The holographic display changed again, showing a small furry creature with pointed ears and a long tail. Now for the aerial assassins, Lisa continued. These were house cats. Ryan nearly fell out of his chair laughing. House cats? They were terrorized by house cats? Think about it, Lisa said. Small furry creatures with stripes and spots. Sharp claws, glowing eyes in the dark, excellent climbing abilities, and they attacked from above without warning. That's a perfect description of cats. Jake was grinning widely. And they said these creatures lived on human buildings? Cats love to climb on roofs and trees, Lisa explained. The Zephyrian warrior said one destroyed his communication device by climbing down from a tree. That sounds exactly like a curious cat investigating new technology. Amy shook her head. They developed special tactics to avoid house cats. It gets better, Lisa said. The pack hunters with black and white striped fur and tiny hands that could grab things and open containers. The holographic display showed. A group of small masked creatures gathered around a garbage can. Raccoons, Jake said immediately. Raccoons, Lisa confirmed. They described them perfectly. They travel in groups. They're very intelligent. They have little hands that can open containers, and they raid garbage cans and food supplies. The Zephyrians probably put their food in what they thought were secure containers, and the raccoons opened them easily. Ryan was still laughing. And the armored giants that moved slowly and couldn't be hurt by energy weapons? Lisa grinned and changed the display to show a large, dome-shaped creature with a thick shell. Tortoises, she said, probably in a park or zoo. Large, slow-moving, with thick shells that would easily deflect energy weapons. Completely harmless plant eaters. Amy pulled up her own notes. Wait, there's more. They also mentioned howling. Sounds that filled the air when they first landed. That was probably dogs barking in the neighborhood, Lisa said. Maybe some sirens from emergency vehicles. All completely normal sounds in any human city. Jake stood up and walked around the room. So let me get this straight. These elite Zephyrian warriors, who are supposed to be tough fighters, spent 3 months running away from pets? That's exactly what happened, Lisa confirmed. They landed near a human city and encountered suburban wildlife. Dogs, cats, raccoons, and maybe some tortoises in a local park. But they had scars, Ryan pointed out. Real injuries from their encounters. Lisa nodded. Oh, I'm sure they did. A frightened cat with its claws out can definitely leave marks. A large dog jumping up to play could knock someone down. Raccoons can be aggressive if they feel threatened. But these weren't life-and-death battles with apex predators. Amy was reading through more of the testimony. They said they were amazed that humans could walk calmly around these creatures. Because they were watching people walking their dogs and petting their cats, Lisa explained. From their perspective, humans were casually interacting with deadly predators. They had no idea these were beloved family pets. Jake sat back down. This explains why they were so impressed with human courage. They thought we were living surrounded by monsters. It also explains why they stayed near human settlements, Lisa added. They were probably trying to study how humans survived around such dangerous creatures. They never ventured into actual wilderness areas where they might have encountered real predators. Ryan looked thoughtful. What about their claim that these creatures had no fear of humans? Well, domestic dogs and cats don't fear humans, Lisa said. They're bred to be comfortable around people. A friendly dog would approach anyone, including scared alien visitors. To the Zephyrians, this would seem like fearless predatory behavior. Amy pulled up images on her own tablet. I'm looking at pictures of golden retrievers right now. They do have pretty impressive teeth when they yawn or pant. And imagine seeing that from an alien perspective, Lisa said. You don't know that. Dogs are friendly. You just see a large creature with fangs approaching you. Your first instinct would be to run. Jake was shaking his head in amazement. The entire galaxy is going to hear about this tomorrow. How do we handle this diplomatically? Lisa's expression became more serious. That's the interesting question. Do we tell them the truth and potentially embarrass them in front of the entire Galactic Council? Or do we find a way to let them save face? What do you think we should do? Amy asked. Jake thought for a moment. They're asking to join the council based on this experience. We need to be honest about what really happened, but maybe we can do it in a way that teaches everyone something important. What do you mean? Ryan asked. Think about it, Jake said. The Zephyrians weren't wrong about one thing. They did encounter Earth creatures and survive. And they were right that humans live comfortably with these animals. The impressive part isn't that they survived our pets. It's that humans managed to turn potential predators into companions. Lisa's eyes lit up. That's a great point. The real story here isn't about Zephyrian courage. It's about human domestication abilities. Exactly, Jake said. We didn't just survive alongside dangerous animals. We turned them into friends and family members. That's actually much more impressive than just fighting them. Amy nodded. And if the Zephyrians were scared of our pets, what would they think of our actual predators? Lisa smiled. That's the key to tomorrow's presentation. We'll tell them the truth about what they encountered, but we'll also show them what Earth's real predators look like. Jake stood up. Let's prepare for tomorrow. We need to handle this carefully, but honestly. The Zephyrians deserve to know the truth, and the Council needs to understand what this really means about human capabilities. Should we give them a hint tonight? Amy asked. No, Lisa said, her smile becoming slightly mischievous. Let them present their case with confidence. Tomorrow's revelation will be much more effective if they don't see it coming. As the crew prepared for the next day's hearing, Lisa spent extra time preparing her presentation. She gathered images and videos of Earth's domestic animals, but also started collecting information about Earth's actual predators. Tomorrow, the Galactic Council would learn something new about both the Zephyrians and humanity. The truth was about to come out, and it would change how the galaxy viewed Earth. Forever. The next morning, the council chamber was packed with representatives from across the galaxy. Word had spread about the Zephyrian testimony, and everyone wanted to hear the human response. War Chief Seseth Ka sat with his warriors, looking confident and proud. They had no idea what was coming. Captain Jake Morrison stood up as Counselor Vex 9 called the session to order. The council will now hear from the human delegation regarding the Zephyrian claims. Jake walked to the center of the chamber, followed by Dr. Lisa Chong, who carried her tablet and looked remarkably calm. The assembled aliens watched with great interest. Honored Counselor, fellow representatives, Jake began, we have carefully reviewed the testimony given by War Chief Seseth Ka and his warriors. Their descriptions of the creatures they encountered on Earth are accurate and detailed. Seseth Ka straightened up in his seat. The other Zephyrians looked pleased. It seemed like the humans were about to confirm their heroic story. However, Jake continued, we believe there may be some confusion about exactly which Earth creatures they encountered. Dr. Chong stepped forward and activated her tablet. The chamber's holographic display came to life, showing a large, furry creature with a happy expression and its tongue hanging out. War Chief Seseth Ka described encounters with great fanged ones that lived among humans, Lisa said in a clear, scientific voice. Based on his detailed description, these were domestic dogs. Specifically, they appear to have been golden retrievers, Labradors, and similar breeds. The chamber went completely silent. Seseth Ka's confident expression began to change as he stared at the image. These animals Lisa continued, are not predators. They are companions. Humans have bred them over thousands of years to be friendly, loyal, and safe around children. They are kept as pets in human homes. A murmur ran through the chamber. Representatives from various species began whispering to each other. The Zephyrians looked confused and concerned. Lisa changed the display to show a small, furry creature with pointed ears and a long tail, sitting peacefully on a windowsill. The aerial assassins that attacked from above were house cats, Lisa explained. These are also domestic animals, kept as companions in human homes. They are small, typically weighing only a few pounds, and are fed by humans daily. War Chief Sesethka stood up slowly. But these creatures were dangerous. They had sharp claws and glowing eyes. They attacked without warning. Cats do have sharp claws, Lisa agreed, but they use them primarily for climbing and playing. A house cat might investigate new visitors or play with unfamiliar objects, but they pose no real threat to armed warriors. The display changed again, showing a group of small, masked creatures with tiny hands gathered around a garbage can. The pack hunters with black and white striped fur were raccoons, Lisa continued. These are wild animals, but they commonly live in and around human cities. They are known for their intelligence and their ability to open containers to find food. One of the Zephyrian warriors spoke up. They destroyed our food supplies. They worked together like a military unit. Raccoons are indeed intelligent and work together, Lisa said patiently, but they were simply looking for food. They opened your containers because they were hungry, not because they were trying to attack you. The chamber was now buzzing with conversation. Many species were having trouble believing what they were hearing. Lisa showed the final image. A large, dome-shaped creature with a thick shell, slowly eating leaves. The armored giants were tortoises, she said. These are plant-eating reptiles that move very slowly and are completely harmless. They have thick shells for protection, but they have no teeth and cannot harm anyone. Sesethka sat down heavily. His proud posture was gone, replaced by growing embarrassment. Are you telling this council that we were? That we ran from pets? Jake stepped forward. War Chief, you and your warriors did exactly what any sensible person would do when encountering unfamiliar creatures. You were cautious and careful. There's no shame in that. But we claimed we survived Earth's predators, Sesethka said, his voice getting quieter. We told everyone we faced the galaxy's most dangerous beasts. You did encounter Earth creatures, Lisa said gently, and you did survive your time on our planet. But the creatures you met were not Earth's predators. They were Earth's friends. Counselor Vex 9 leaned forward. Dr. Chang, are you saying that humans live peacefully with these animals? More than peacefully, Lisa replied. We love them. They are members of our families. Human children grow up playing with dogs and cats. We feed them, care for them when they're sick, and consider them our companions. The chamber erupted in amazed whispers. The idea of living with any kind of animal was strange to most species, but the idea of treating them as family members was almost impossible to understand. A representative from the insect-like hive species spoke up. If these were not Earth's predators, then what are Earth's actual predators like? Lisa paused and looked at Jake. He nodded, giving her permission to continue. That's an excellent question, Lisa said. Her expression became more serious. The creatures that War Chief Sesethka encountered were not just tamed animals. They were animals that humans specifically bred to be gentle enough for our children to play with safely. She activated the holographic display again. This time, the image showed a massive shark with rows of razor-sharp teeth swimming through dark water. These are Earth's real predators, Lisa said. This is a great white shark. It can grow to over 20 feet long, and has multiple rows of teeth designed to tear through flesh. The chamber went quiet again, but this time it was a different kind of silence. The assembled aliens stared at the terrifying image. This creature, Lisa continued, lives in Earth's oceans. Humans swim in the same waters, often without protection. The display changed to show a massive bear standing on its hind legs, easily 12 feet tall, with claws as long as knives. This is a polar bear, Lisa said. It weighs over 1,000 pounds and can run faster than most vehicles. It hunts seals by wading at breathing holes in the ice, sometimes for hours. War Chief Sesethka was staring at the images with growing horror. These ... these are what you call predators. We're just getting started, Lisa said. The display showed a tiger. Its orange and black stripes beautiful, but its expression deadly. This is a tiger. It hunts by stalking its prey silently through dense forest. It can kill prey much larger than itself with a single bite. The images kept changing. Crocodiles with jaws that could snap a tree trunk in half. Wolves that hunted. In coordinated packs, eagles that could snatch prey from the ground while flying at high speed. These, Lisa said, are the creatures that share Earth with humans. And these are the creatures that humans learn to avoid, fight, or in some cases, even tame. The chamber was now completely silent, except for the sound of various species breathing, heavily or making nervous noises. The animals that frightened the Zephyrian warriors, Lisa continued, were descendants of some of these predators. Dogs descended from wolves. Cats descended from wild hunting cats. But humans didn't just survive alongside these predators. We turned them into friends. Jake stepped forward again. The Zephyrians weren't wrong about human courage. But our courage isn't shown by fighting these creatures. It's shown by learning to live with them, and in many cases, by turning them into companions. War Chief Sesethka stood up slowly. You mean, the creatures we encountered were tame versions of these monsters? That's exactly right, Lisa said. The great fanged ones you feared were wolves that humans had bred to be loyal companions. The aerial assassins were wild cats that humans had bred to be gentle enough to live in our homes. The realization was spreading through the chamber. If humans could turn such dangerous creatures into pets, what did that say about human capabilities? Counselor. Vex 9 spoke into the silence. Dr. Chong, are you telling us that humans not only survive alongside these predators, but actually transform them into companions? Lisa smiled, the same smile she had been holding back since the previous day. Counselor, we didn't just survive Earth's predators. We made friends with them. The creatures that scared trained Zephyrian warriors were our children's playmates. The chamber erupted in chaos as representatives from dozens of species began talking at once. The Zephyrians sat in stunned silence, finally understanding the true implications of their Earth experience. War Chief Sesethka looked at Jake. Captain Morrison, what does this mean for our application to join the Council? Jake thought for a moment. War Chief, I think the Council needs to understand something important. You and your warriors did survive on Earth. You showed wisdom by being cautious around unfamiliar creatures. But more importantly, you've helped reveal something about humanity that even we sometimes forget. What's that? Sesethka asked. That our greatest strength isn't our ability to fight monsters, Jake said. It's our ability to turn monsters into friends. The chamber slowly quieted as the implications of this revelation began to sink in. The Zephyrians had wanted to prove their strength by surviving Earth's predators. Instead, they had revealed something far more significant about humanity's unique place in the galaxy. The question before us now, Jake continued, is not whether the Zephyrians are brave enough to join the Council. The question is what tea. 3 days had passed since the revelation in the Council chambers. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his quarters, reading reports from across the galaxy. The news of the Zephyrian encounter had spread faster than anyone expected. Every major news network was covering the story of the warriors who fled from pets. A soft chime indicated someone was at his door. "Come in," Jake called. Dr. Lisa Chong entered, looking concerned. She carried her tablet and had a serious expression that Jake hadn't seen since their first meeting with the Zephyrians. "Captain, we have a problem," she said, sitting down across from his desk. "What kind of problem?" Lisa activated her tablet and showed him a series of messages. Intelligence reports from Earth Defense Command. Several aggressive species have been making inquiries about Earth's outer colonies. It seems some of them think our reputation was exaggerated. Jake frowned as he read through the reports. The Craxi Empire, known for their military expansion, had been asking questions about human defensive capabilities. The Void Stalkers, a nomadic raiding species, had been spotted near human trade routes. They think we're weak because our predators turned out to be pets, Jake asked. That's exactly what they think, Lisa replied. They're interpreting the story as proof that humans are not as dangerous as previously believed. If our most feared creatures are actually harmless companions, maybe humans themselves are not the warriors everyone thought. Jake stood up and walked to his window, looking out at the stars. How many species are we talking about? At least 6 major powers and dozens of smaller raiding groups. The Galactic Council is concerned enough that they've called an emergency session. When? This afternoon. They want us to address these concerns before any incidents occur. Jake turned back to Lisa. What do you recommend? Lisa's expression changed slightly. The concern was still there, but now it was mixed with something else. Something that reminded Jake of the smile she had worn before revealing the truth about the Zephyrians. I think, she said slowly, that it's time for the galaxy to learn about Earth's real predators. 2 hours later, the council chamber was packed again. This time, however, the atmosphere was different. Representatives from the aggressive species sat forward in their seats, their body language suggesting they were evaluating the humans for weakness. The Zephyrians, now confirmed as council members, watched nervously from their section. Counselor Vex 9 called the session to order. The council recognizes urgent concerns about misinterpretations of recent testimony. Captain Morrison, the floor is yours. Jake stood up, but this time Dr. Chong walked to the center of the chamber with him. She carried a different tablet today, one loaded with information she had hoped never to share. Honored Counselor, fellow representatives, Jake began, we understand that some species may have misunderstood the implications of our recent revelation about the Zephyrian encounter. A harsh voice called out from the Craxi section. Are you going to tell us that humans have other scary pets we should fear? Lisa stepped forward. Her smile was back, but it was different now. Colder, more predatory. Actually, she said, I'm going to tell you about the creatures that we couldn't tame. The chamber quieted. Something in Lisa's tone made even the most aggressive species pay attention. The Zephyrians encountered animals that humans had spent thousands of years domesticating. Wolves that became dogs. Wild cats that became house pets. These animals learned to live peacefully with humans because we taught them that cooperation was better than conflict. She activated her tablet. The holographic display showed a massive shape moving through dark water. But not all of Earth's. Predators chose cooperation, Lisa continued. This is a great white shark, 20 feet long, 3,000 pounds, with multiple rows of teeth that regrow constantly. It has remained unchanged for millions of years because it didn't need to evolve. It was already perfect at killing. The image rotated slowly, showing the shark's massive jaws and dead black eyes. Humans swim in the same oceans as these creatures, Lisa said. We developed technology to protect ourselves, but many humans still enter the water, knowing that sharks are present. A representative from the Void Stalkers spoke up. One predator does not make humans fearsome. Lisa's smile grew wider. You're absolutely right. One predator doesn't. But Earth has thousands of species that make great whites look gentle. The display changed to show a polar bear, but this wasn't the calm image she had shown before. This bear was in motion, running across ice with surprising speed. Polar bears, Lisa said, can run 40 miles per hour and swim for days without rest. They hunt by waiting at seal-breathing holes, sometimes for 20 hours without moving. When they strike, it's over in seconds. The image changed again. A tiger moved silently through tall grass, its stripes making it nearly invisible until it was too late. Tigers are ambush predators, Lisa explained. They can leap horizontally for 30 feet and carry prey twice their own weight up trees. They hunt alone and are intelligent enough to adapt their tactics to each situation. The chamber was getting quieter with each new image. Even the aggressive species were starting to look uncomfortable. But these are still individual hunters. Lisa continued. Earth also has pack predators that work together with intelligence that rivals most spacefaring species. The display showed a group of wolves surrounding a much larger animal. Their coordination was perfect, each wolf knowing exactly where to position itself. Wolves, Lisa said, hunt in family groups led by an alpha pair. They can track prey for hundreds of miles, taking turns to keep their target from resting. When they attack, it's with perfect coordination developed over thousands of years of evolution. The Croxy representative was no longer looking aggressive. These creatures, they live on the same planet as humans? They share the same continents, Lisa replied. The same forests, mountains, and rivers. And these are just the land predators. The display changed to show the ocean again. But this time it was filled with a group of black and white shapes moving in perfect formation. Orcas, Lisa said. The apex predators of Earth's oceans. They hunt in pods, with each member having a specific role. They've been observed teaching their young complex hunting strategies and adapting their techniques to different prey. She paused and looked around the chamber. Every species was watching intently now. Orcas hunt great white sharks, she said simply. They flip them upside down to paralyze them, then eat only their livers. The silence in the chamber was complete. Now, but even orcas, Lisa continued, are not Earth's most dangerous predators. The display changed one final time. This time, it showed a human. This, Lisa said, is Earth's apex predator. The species that survived, not by running from all those other predators, but by outsmarting them, outmaneuvering them, and in many cases, by turning them into allies. She gestured to the images that had come before. Humans didn't just survive alongside creatures that could tear them apart with ease. They thrived. They became the dominant species on a planet where everything else was bigger, stronger, and more naturally armed. War Chief Seseth Ka spoke up from his section. Dr. Chang, are you saying that humans are more dangerous than the creatures we just saw? Lisa's smile became something that made several species shift nervously in their seats. War Chief, she said, humans are the species that looked at wolves and thought, I bet I could make friends with those. They're the species that saw tigers and thought, I wonder if I could learn their hunting techniques. They're the species that encountered creatures that could kill them with a single blow and decided to study them instead of running away. The Crossy representative found his voice. But humans seemed so peaceful, so diplomatic. Humans are peaceful, Jake said, stepping forward, when it serves their purposes. But the species that tamed wolves and befriended tigers is also the species that survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and mass extinctions. They didn't survive by being weak. Lisa activated one more image. This time it showed a human child, perhaps 8 years old, sitting calmly while a large dog slept, with its head in her lap. "The creatures that scared trained Zephyrian warriors," she said softly, "are the ones we trust with our children. The animals we couldn't tame are the ones we learned to hunt, avoid, or respect, and the animals that hunted us." She paused, her smile becoming something that made the entire chamber hold its breath. "Well, most of those are extinct now." The implications of her words hit the chamber like a physical blow. Several species made nervous sounds. The aggressive representatives were no longer looking confident. "Dr. Chung," Counselor Vex 9 said carefully, "are you telling us that humans eliminated their predators?" "Some of them," Lisa replied. "The ones that couldn't adapt to sharing the planet with an intelligent, tool-using, persistence-hunting species that never gave up and never forgot a threat." Jake stepped forward again. "But we prefer cooperation to conflict. That's why we're here, talking to you, instead of treating you as threats to be eliminated." The chamber erupted in nervous whispers. The Crassi representative stood up slowly. "Captain Morrison, I believe there may have been a misunderstanding about Craxi intentions regarding human colonies." "Oh?" Jake said mildly. "Yes, we were merely conducting routine surveys of the area for scientific purposes." "Of course," Jake replied. "I'm